What's up, guys? Welcome to Voicey here. This is your host that just got back from a little trip to New York, Captain Zach, and today's subreddit is r/EntitledParents.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.
This story's called Entitled Mother Gets Angry About Her Son Exposing Her Daughter, Blames Me. I now met one in the wild, and it was a bizarre experience. Quick bit of context. I support vulnerable people, in this case an elderly person with memory issues, in medical appointments and take notes on my phone so I can accurately report what took place and email them quickly to whoever needs them. Sometimes the medical professional thinks I'm texting on my phone and ignoring what's happening, in which case I explain/show my notes if appropriate, and then the appointment continues. Sometimes I get complimented, sometimes they look put out, whatever. Scene setting. This takes place in a clinic, which is in a very long room where there's a line of patient areas separated by curtains. Basically, the patient is called from the waiting area, walks along the lines of curtained-off sections to the one they're called to. Then they are helped set up by generic nursing staff who then leave them in the curtained-off bit until the specialist staff get in there and do their thing. The night previously, I had been sending nude selfies to my SO, and I had not yet deleted them from my phone. Here's the cast. Entitled mother, a mother attending with 3 kids. Teenage girl, the patient attending the clinic with her awful mom and 2 siblings. Tiny toddler, the youngest of entitled mother's children. Entitled kid, the presumed middle child of entitled mother.
Carl, the person I'm supporting.
And then there are an assortment of nurses that I'll decide the voices of later because, goodness gracious, the cast list is full this time around, guys. Alright, so Nurse 1 calls Carl into the clinic and he and I help Carl down to the bay next to teenage girl. Entitled mother calls Nurse 1 into their bay to help teenage girl with something and I help Carl set up. Nurse 1 comes back and finishes helping Carl set up. I get out my smartphone and make generic notes, time, date, etc. Tiny toddler crawls under the curtains dividing Carl and teenage girl's bays. Carl is delighted and asks tiny toddler's name. Tiny toddler goes red and crawls back under. A few moments later, tiny toddler crawls back.
Hello, where did you come from?
Tiny toddler points.
Are you here to get
Treatment. Tiny toddler shakes head.
I'm here to get treatment.
To tiny toddler, I say, shouldn't you be with your mom? Tiny toddler shrugs.
I used to run off all the time when I was a kid.
I tell tiny toddler, do you know where your parents are? Tiny toddler points back to the curtains he just crawled through. Should you be back there?
Oh, he just came to say hello.
And now we've said hello. Should we say bye-bye? Tiny toddler beams and waves. Bye-bye. Carl beams and waves.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Tiny toddler crawls back under the curtains. Nurse 3 shows up in the next bay and starts streeting teenage girl. I can hear, but I am not listening, so I assume this is roughly what happens. Nurse 2 shows up and starts asking Carl preparatory questions. I start making notes on my phone and occasionally interjecting if Carl can't remember certain answers. Entitled kid crawls under the curtains. Kid, you need to get back to your bay. Entitled kid crawls back. Nurse 2 begins to treat Carl and asks Carl something that requires me to check the notes on my phone. Entitled kid crawls back and is not immediately noticed by Nurse 2 or me.
Oh, look, another runaway.
Kid, you need to get back to where you're supposed to be. My mom says I can. But I work here and I say you can't. This bay is for getting this guy treatment. My mom said I could come. Yes, but she meant with her, not in this bay. This is private for him. I nod at Carl. You let tiny toddler in here. I'm making the assumption entitled kid is referring to the child in here earlier. We asked tiny toddler to leave too, and now Carl is getting treatment. You need to get back to your mom. Mom! Then, entitled kid pulls at the curtains between the bays, pulling some of the curtain hooks out, but mostly succeeding in pulling them back, so that teenage girl and Carl are no longer private from each other. Teenage girl is in the middle of treatment and is not totally clothed. She's not happy about this and starts screaming at entitled kid to close the curtains. There was nothing visible that you wouldn't get at a conservative beach, but I'm totally with her being upset about this. Entitled mother starts screaming at Nurse 3 to close the curtains. Tiny Toddler waves at Carl, who smiles and waves back to Tiny Toddler.
Stop that pervert from waving at my daughter! Why is he looking at my daughter?
I get up to close the curtains.
She's taking pictures! The kid diddlers!
Nurse 3 closes the curtains, teenage girls shouting at Entitled Kid. Entitled Mother continues shouting at Nurse 1 about Carl and me. Tiny Toddler starts crying. Nurse 2 apologizes and starts treatment. Entitled Mother continues to harangue Nurse 3 about our vile behavior. Nurse 1 comes into the bay.
Excuse me, but have you been taking photographs?
No, I'm taking notes on my phone so Carl knows what's happened. I show him the phone. Okay, thanks. Nurse 1 leaves and I hear him go into teenage girl's bay. This time I do listen and hear him explain what happened.
I saw her taking photographs.
She wasn't.
Well, then why did she have a phone out?
She was taking notes about treatment.
That's bollocks. Nobody needs to do that.
Well, perhaps the old guy's memory isn't very good.
They're a couple of kid diddlers. Why haven't you called the police? Entitled Kid, open the curtains.
Entitled Mother starts swearing at Nurse 3 for accusing her entitled kid of being a kid diddler. Nurse 2 and I are now looking at each other wide-eyed, both clearly listening into the next bay. Carl seems to be blissfully unaware of what's happening in the next cubicle. Nurse 2 starts determinedly working away with a vengeance.
I want you to get a freaking supervisor here. I want the mother freaking doctor in here.
Nurse 3 says something placatory I didn't catch.
Mom, please let's just finish and get out of here. We are not getting out of here until they do something about them.
Nurse 2 is zipping through the treatment with no little speed. Nurse 1 comes into bay.
Sorry, could I look at the pics on your phone at all?
Not unless you buy me dinner first.
It's just the lady in the next bay wants to check your phone.
Look, I'll show Nurse 3, but it's all cats, kids, and my tits, and I'm not showing some randomer those. Nurse 1 leaves and goes into the next bay. Nurse 2 finishes treatments in record time, and Nurse 2 and I start getting Carl ready to leave. There's still some hassle going on in the next bay, but Tiny Toddler's wailing now, or possibly Entitled Kid, and I can't really hear it. Nurse 3 comes into the bay.
Look, I'm really sorry, but can I check your phone?
Yes, the last few pics are me topless though. That's why I didn't want to show the guy the pics. I don't mind so much because you're a woman, but I'm not showing her. I nod toward Entitled Mother. Look, if it'll help shut her up, you can see the pics, but whatever you're okay with.
No, I'm not doing this.
She goes back into bay. Carl is now getting ready to go, and Nurse 2 is desperately trying to get us out of there. But as we're leaving, Entitled Mother steps out of the bay in front of me, between me and Carl.
Call the frickin' police on them.
Nurse 3 is trying to get her back into the bay.
I want those freaking pictures on your freaking phone.
I need you to move. I'm here to support that gentleman, and I need you to move now.
Freaking carrots can afford phones like that. Bet you a freaking prosy.
I need you to move. Carl, completely oblivious, is now on the other end of the room on his own.
Freaking kid diddler prosy. Mom! I'm sorting this out, teenage girl.
I attempt to slide past while she's distracted.
Call the freaking police, she's getting away.
Yes, call the police. My name is OP. You can get a hold of me at local hospice. Now I need to help him. I pelt past Entitled Mother to where Carl is actually doing fine and utterly unaware of the situation. Entitled Mother is fish-mouthing, presumably because she now thinks Carl is dying. I am working at the hospice, just not with Carl. Nurse 1 says to Entitled Mother, "Come and sit down. We've called the police." From the look I got from Nurse 2, I think the reason the police were called has nothing to do with me. Certainly, I haven't heard anything. Okay, my question is, why did Entitled Mother feel the need to bring her entire brood with her daughter that's getting an obviously somewhat intimate treatment, at least with children around? In fact, bringing children to a hospital when you're gonna be in like a shared room is often not a good idea at all unless they're like really well behaved, which of course every entitled freaking mother is gonna believe that their child is because, well, they're stupid. Alrighty, this next story is called "And Scissors Cost How Much?" You know the drill. Here's the cast.
Entitled Mother. Entitled Crotch Goblin.
Me, your humble narrator. Okay, let's start with the situation. My workshop is located in an office building no longer in use, but you're using. As a result, they opened it up to various smaller companies to work there. I only recently opened the workshop at this location and am still very busy with moving as well as getting to know what everyone does. They are mostly online shops and artists who have a room there. The hallways where I have my office is locked off with an access code. It started on a Sunday. I like working on Sundays because there's nobody in the building, so music on and start working. What I do in my workshop is working with leather, faux furs, and faux leathers. So I have an array of knives, scissors, needles, punches, and pliers that would not be misplaced in a Lovecraftian horror scene. Only I needed to go to the bathroom, so I closed the door, but I did not lock it. In hindsight, I should have locked it, and from now on I do that. But at the moment, there was no one. We all know each other, so what could have gone wrong? Famous last words. So I come back to my workshop with my door open. Strange, I had closed the door, right? I discover, much to my surprise, that there was a child, perhaps 6, in the workshop nosing around. There are a few small issues with it. One comes to mind when I see the nice shiny metal of one of my scissors. These scissors are my pride. They are high strength, carbon steel alloy, and I keep them razor sharp, perhaps even sharper. They are perfect for cutting through synthetic fabrics, different leathers, and to my own frustration, human skin if you don't pay attention. We're talking about a 28 centimeter, or 11 freedom inches appreciated, long blade, hollow ground, and polished. So I get a bit nervous when I see a child with that tool. I also didn't want the child to get scared and drop the scissors. They do not act well when dropped. Now, there were no parents with the child at that moment, so I approached the child to ask what it was doing there. And more importantly, for my scissors back. Shiny objects and children. No luck in getting my quite expensive scissors back. So I get a bit sterner. I do not want to grab for the scissors, as it's as dangerous for me as it is for the child. Do you know how difficult it is to clean blood from a floor? Yes, I do. Now, when I talk stern, I do raise my voice a bit, and it does carry. So finally, the mother made an appearance. Apparently, learning after the fact, she was visiting a therapist with her child. Figures. At first, it was quite nice. I asked the mother for my scissors back and to remove her child from my workshop. The mother did also not have luck with getting the scissors back from the child, who now became frustrated that 2 people were asking for her newfound toy back. Following conversation translated from Dutch.
Sure, there's no harm in letting entitled child play with it a bit longer.
Ma'am, I have work to do and the scissors are quite dangerous. There's a reason I have that on the wall, and I pointed to a large, well-equipped industry first aid kit.
Then why is she here?
Beats me, but I do have to ask you to leave. This is no place for a child. My following error was to take a step to entitled child with my hand open and making a gesture for the scissors. The child gave a cry and threw the scissors on the ground. It dropped on its tip and did me a kind job of breaking apart. It is said that a Dutch guy can swear for 2 minutes, uninterrupted without repeating themselves. And at that moment, I had to keep myself from teaching the child a whole new vocabulary of words that would make the devil ask if you could keep it civilized. It's not the child's fault. It hardly ever is at that age. I took the scissors and the tip carefully from the ground. It was about 1 centimeter long and there was no way I could grind the blade back to repair the damage. So I looked at the mother. This is a problem.
Yeah, sorry. Here, have a tenner. That should be enough.
Not even close. These scissors cost me about 120 euros a piece. That is 120 euros wholesale price, not retail. I want it replaced, not to make a profit on it. For a moment, I saw her soul leave her body.
Well, you shouldn't have left your door open.
Technically, she was right, but technically, you should always watch your child. The door was closed, just not locked. I do ask for some compensation for the breaking of my tool, since you are responsible for your child. A child who was looking with tears in her eyes to the scissors I was holding. No, you will not get it, demon spawn. I do not know why, but she calmly took some cash from her wallet, threw it at me with the words,
Take your bloody money.
And left with roughly pulling on entitled child's arm, who started to cry at this point. The only consolation is that what she threw at me was a bit more than the cost of new scissors, so technically I made a profit. Hey, a good ending to a story, that's pretty nice. You made a profit, the mother and the child are out of your lives, and you've learned a very valuable lesson. Always keep your doors locked when there is potential for entitled crotch goblins to find their way into your workshop and break your leather scissors and stuff. You know how it is. But then again, you did make a profit, so is there really a lesson to be learned here? And if there is it to leave your doors locked or unlocked? And it's a joke, guys, don't take it seriously. Obviously, lock your crap because you might not be so lucky. This story's called That Time an Entitled Parent Had a Tantrum. So at the moment, I work in retail. I work at a small antique and secondhand shop in the UK, and I'm often working in the shop on my own. We sell a variety of odd bits and bobs. Now, we never give discounts. It's a rule because once you give one person a discount, you have to give everyone a discount because someone could turn around and say,
Well, you gave that person a discount.
or my personal favorite,
You gave me a discount last time at the other store.
that we don't have. It's just one guy who has one member of staff to cover his auction days every week. So this little chap comes in when I'm on my own in the shop with his two little girls. You might want to adjust your wording there a bit. He spots an item that he wants and sends his little girls to ask for a discount. I say we aren't permitted to give discounts to anyone. Mind you, this item was also £2, so if you're that skinned, save your money and don't waste it on stuff you don't need. The bloke blows up, starts screaming at me that I'm greedy and I should give it to him for free for being so disrespectful to him, and he's gonna call head office to complain. Joke's on him for that one, we don't have a head office. I also should respect my elders. I've ruined his child's half-term. I'm just a generally terrible person and he's never shopping here again. And what do I say as he storms out with those two mortified-looking kids? Have a nice day! Yo, is it just me or do you get power trippy when someone asks you for a discount and you are allowed to give a discount? Like, hey buddy, the price you pay is dependent completely on what I decide. I would do this a lot at the hotels. Like if someone was being a jerk and they wanted the discount, I'd be like, oh, sorry man, this is already discounted, man. We can't do nothing about it. And then if they're really nice, I'll be like, hey man, how about I pay you $20 to stay in the room? Obviously I'm joking, but you know, I'm always trying to help people out that are really nice and stuff. Or if they look like they're having a rough time or something, I'll be like, hey buddy, yeah, I can knock a few bucks off of it. But if you're a jerk, I mean, I still might give a discount just to, you know, make you happy or something. But I don't know, depends on the mood. Depends on the mood.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.